Hello and welcome, dear listeners, to episode 240 of The Reformed Gamers, the show all about, I can't believe we're at 240 episodes. Sorry, that interrupted me because we're 10 episodes away from 250. I'm one of your hosts, Logan.
And I am his co-host, Micah.
Dude, we are old. This show is old.
You're old. I'm not old.
You're still a young spry.
I've only been on the show for like a year or something now.
Yeah,
and Adam and everyone that brought it up, you guys are old.
Yeah, we're old, man. We're old people. I guess if we were thinking of comic books, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm Batman and you're Robin, and you will eventually become Nightwing and go to, do your own crime fighting thing, or I guess in this case, podcasting sort of thing.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So, that's pretty cool. Well, dear listeners, before we get into the show proper, just a couple things we want to get into or just talk about real quick. I want to mention this, the Clips channel. It's back. Because, now that I'm editing the video and the audio for the podcast for the foreseeable future, if you guys missed the whole thing with the Skinner, go listen to the housekeeping for the last episode and get caught up on that. As I'm going through and editing, I'm trying to stay conscious of the timestamps of when we start a new topic. And so I'll have markers set into the actual project that I'm working on, and I can set in and out marks and just pull that out. Do any other kind of quick edits that I need to do and just slap that back up on the Clips channel as well. Up there right now is Micah's impressions of PSVR 2 from a few episodes ago. And then there's also a video up there, me talking about Trails to Azure, which I will talk more about in this episode as well, because I know people kept commenting on the YouTube videos like, where are you at in the game? Let us know. We need some updates. And it's like, okay, well, here's your update. So we'll have more of those going up, at least on a weekly basis at this point. And then what I'd like to eventually do is roll out to where we get 2 clips up per week and then do a short or 2 on the main channel on the weekends. That's kind of what I'm working towards and trying to structure that a little bit better with my time and trying to manage the 2 podcasts that I edit now. So that's kind of where we're at. So definitely be checking out the Reformed Gamers Clips channel. Link to it will be in your show notes so that we can check that out as well. As always, we've got timestamps on our episodes, so you can check those out as well. So don't let an hour and a half long episode intimidate you at all. Just look at the different topics, go to the one you want to listen to that you only have time for, and then go from there. Micah, dude, it's an exciting week, man. We got an exciting thing of news. I almost had an exciting thing of lose, and I'm like, what is lose? We're not losing. If anything, we're winning as gamers this year. It's just a wild. It just continues to get even more wild, dude.
I know
talk about it a little bit, but let's get into the show here. A little bit of what we've been playing. Micah, kick us off with some TRG Kids, man. What are your kids playing here lately? I see one game on here. I'm going to highlight in the document. I am very curious about this Dragon Quest 11.
Yeah, we've got things. I've got. So, okay, this is going to be an interesting TRG Kids. I've got 3 games listed here, and the one I'm going to talk about first is getting the most play, Kingdom Hearts 2. I mentioned Ava May, my middle daughter. We've been going through this, and we're playing on easy. We're just having a blast. I'm loving the nostalgia. She's loving going to all the new worlds. We just got to, minor spoiler, Pride Lands for the Lion King.
Okay.
And she's like all about that. Sora's turned into a little lion cub that on all fours running around way faster than usual. So it's just a lot of fun. We're having a blast with that. So play games with your kids on easy. Recommended.
You don't want to play games on hard with your kids and just see how they handle it.
No, I mean you could. That would be one way to do it.
Yeah.
My eldest daughter is we saw that Tears of the Kingdom footage, and man, she's like, oh, she's got this itch to go back into something like that. So they've been playing more Breath of the Wild, and she's trying to find other things. So I was like, well, hey, let's just kind of go through PlayStation Plus and see what's in the extra. The library. There's lots of them, and I was like, oh, Dragon Quest 11. I was like, I think you would like this, that, and the other. I was talking about it. I've never played Dragon Quest, but what I know about it, I was explaining it to her, and we watched the trailer, and she's like, yeah, let's download it. So we downloaded it, and she played a session of it, and I was kind of in and out of the room. I wasn't watching it the whole time, though. I did watch the intro, and it was all awesome.
Yeah,
and I really want her to get into this, like get into the games like this, so I can like watch them from afar.
Yeah.
And like, not have to put in the actual time investment, so I can enjoy it. But like, yes, I'm not putting in 90 hours.
You get to enjoy the like 10 to 20 hours of story while she has to endure the 100+ hours of gameplay.
Exactly,
I hear what
all
you're
the
doing.
grinding. So
Yeah.
I wanted her to get into this game, and she played it. And this is what she had the gall to say this about this
Oh my
game,
gosh.
Logan.
Okay.
She says about the battle system, "Oh, it's kind of like Pokemon." In a real
Oh.
derogatory way, when she
Oh
herself loves
no.
so many different Pokemon games. And I'm like, well, what's the problem here? Like, yeah, it's turn-based. Yeah, turn-based, combat here. Like, this is, traditional JRPG stuff. I was
Mhm.
explaining this to her. And like, man, she really like was like down on it. And I don't know if she's gonna go back. That's why I have
Oh
in the
wow.
doc, I have question
Oh
marks
wow.
after Dragon Quest
Wow.
11.
Man.
So I'm hoping she's going to come back. This is just the other day, so she
Yeah.
may come back to it still. I don't
Yeah.
know. But she may have played it and then just bounced out, but we'll see.
Wow. Wow.
TBD. We'll see if
Man.
Layla sticks with Dragon Quest 11.
Well, hey, depending on how she settles with the game, if she ends up walking away with it, we just won't talk about anything she's playing in future episodes.
I'll
I'm
dox her
kidding, of
from
course.
from future TRG kids. I'm gonna tell her like I'm not gonna talk about you on the podcast, and she'll be heartbroken, of course.
Yeah, I think in Dragon Quest 11, if I'm remembering correctly, you can actually. Well, I don't know if they're doing it on the PS4
Are
version,
you
but I
talking about
know.
swapping between the graphics modes?
No, it's like you can swap between the battle modes to where it's not quite as actiony as like Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy, but it's a little bit closer to that. But I
Well,
I
I'm
don't want to
just trying
speak
to
too much
figure
about
her
it.
out, I guess, because she's like,
Yeah,
"Oh, it's like Pokemon." I'm like, "Well, what the heck is the problem with
she's
that? You
grown out
love
of Pokemon,
Pokemon."
man. She's done with
So
Pokemon.
yeah, like she's 12, she's changing, and so maybe I just got to like retool and rethink what she's going to be liking.
Yeah.
Though I think it's a lock that we're all like everyone in my house other than my wife is going to be playing Tears of the Kingdom. It's going to be real
Yeah.
interesting getting Switch time with this.
Yeah.
With
You're
only
gonna have to
one
buy
Switch in
multiple
the
Switches,
house.
man. That's
We've
what
already
it
talked
sounds
about
like.
this. Anyway, moving on to what Ellison, my boy, has been playing.
Mhm.
I introduced Tetris Effect connected to him because I've been playing
Nice.
that a little bit.
Yeah.
And he hopped out of the shower one night and I was playing it and he was watching me play and I was just like, hey, you want to try it? And he tried it and was loving it. And I was giving him tips. And I was like, oh, he was like, ask me, he would flip it like, what about this? I'm like, yeah, that looks good. So he was enjoying. This is really kind of his first foray into Tetris. He's
Mhm.
watched Tetris 99 in the past.
Okay,
He's watched
yeah.
me play that on the Switch, and he was digging what he saw here, especially with all the effects, and he liked the music
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, the music's really good.
He was digging the music. So yeah, that's what my kids have been playing: Kingdom Hearts 2, Dragon Quest 11, and Tetris Effect Connected.
All good games.
As far as me, I'm going to go faster through what I've been playing than what
Mhm.
I just did with TRG Kids because I don't have a lot to really say.
Okay.
Horizon Call of the Mountain, the PSVR game,
Mhm.
I platinumed that game.
Yeah.
It was a fun platinum. I
Mhm.
mentioned or alluded to how I was thinking about doing that last episode. And sure enough, it wound up being like the right amount. Like I thought it was going to be like the right amount of time investment.
Yeah.
And that's important for a VR game, I feel like. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
you got 10 more hours? Maybe not, but 4
Yeah.
or 5? Okay, cool, let's do it.
Yeah.
So got the platinum for that. Kind of 1 thumbs up on that game. Not 2 thumbs up, but 1 thumbs
Oh,
up on
snap. Okay. So
Horizon
it's
Call
like
of the Mountain.
it's all right. It's an
It's all
okay
right.
time.
Yeah, like I said, it's like a 7 out of 10. It's good. Um, Okay, I don't usually talk about Rocket League, but I play it, every week. I just don't bring
Mhm.
it up because that's my main game, and there's nothing to
Mhm.
really say about it. But brother, I've been playing this game since it launched
Uh-huh.
in 2015.
Oh, wow.
2015, can you believe it? I think
Wow.
that's when it launched. I'm pretty
It's a
sure.
long time.
Um, it's either 15 or 17, but I think it's 15. And I'm not very good. My bros that I play with were not particularly that good, but I finally hit champion rank for the first time ever in ranked doubles, and I am over the moon about it. I can't
That's
believe it.
awesome, dude.
I'm finally gonna get a champion seasonal reward for the first time ever after like a billion seasons, and I just want to thank my fellow bros that I play with for helping me out. And yeah, Rocket League is awesome.
So,
Lastly, sorry, go ahead.
real quick, because I'm looking at the rankings here, and I had to look this up again because one of my students plays Rocket League quite a bit, actually. So, are you going to go for Grand Champion then?
Dude, there's no way.
No
Champion was
way.
hard enough. I'm
Okay.
like so average at this game.
Uh
Like
huh.
the fact that I got champion rank just that I even touched it was like I'm good. Like I
You
can
good? You
retire from
solid?
Rocket League and I'll be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Grand champions are like the people that get paid to go to tournaments and stuff.
Oh, okay.
I'm not that.
Not that. Okay. Not there yet.
No. So yeah, I'm just doing basic stuff around here still. But
Okay.
anyway,
Well,
I was
congrats,
very
man. That's
proud of that.
awesome.
And of course, lastly, Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
I hadn't beaten it last time on the last episode, so have
Mm-hmm.
since beaten it,
Yeah.
and it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
I'm gonna mainly I'm gonna toss it to you more to talk about it. I've beaten the game. I'm going back through and I'm playing on assisted and I'm doing like all the collectibles and
Yeah.
all like kind of the scenario trophies. Like you gotta do certain things throughout the
Oh,
story and stuff.
yeah. The like
It's just that I
perks with
missed the first time.
the blue paper quest things.
Well, those, yeah, like all those,
Uh-huh.
but also just like you got to kill certain bosses, do certain things with certain bosses and stuff like that. Like
Oh,
that
okay.
I just
Okay.
didn't do
Okay.
the first time because I
Okay.
don't look at trophies before I play anymore. I don't do
Yeah.
that. I just
Yeah.
play blind. So if
Mm-hmm.
I miss stuff, I got to clean it up later. So I'm doing that now.
Yeah.
I really want to get the platinum on this game, like a ton. But I
Mm-hmm.
also really have Jedi Survivor and Tears of the Kingdom right around the corner.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But this game is outstanding.
Yeah.
Dead Space and this game are like dead heat.
Yeah.
It's wild how good these games are.
Yeah.
For different reasons, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely different flavors in the same genre, like the almost specifically the same genre.
Yeah.
Um, I just can't believe it. I sound like a broken record over and over again every week talking about these games and kind of this remake renaissance we're in. Resident Evil 4 was already so good, and they just made it that much better. Like
Yeah.
it was a masterpiece, and this
Yeah.
game is better. It's
Mm-hmm.
just better. Um, I'm gonna. I don't really have anything to say. I'm kind of speechless. Like I can't toss out any superlatives or like, oh, the gameplay this and the graphics that or this
Yeah.
that. It's like it's all just dripping with like what makes this genre so good. For
Yeah.
my taste, it's a little too action heavy and
Yep.
less on the horror. I wish it would lean more in the horror like Resident Evil 2 did, but I digress.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic, all-time classic game. Yeah, what do you think about it, Logan?
Yeah. I mean, I echo a lot of what you said. It's a really stinking good game. I feel like good is way too like humble. It's an amazing game. It's easily one of the best games we've gotten this year in a year that is already stacked, that we've been getting somewhat consistently really amazing experiences that started with Dead Space Remake earlier in the year. I think for me personally, I think I like Dead Space Remake just a little bit more than Resident Evil 4
I think so
Remake.
too. I think I do too.
And I think that is in large part due to just, I feel like the controls in Dead Space are a little bit more tighter for my, like, they align more with my taste specifically. Not saying the taste or the controls are bad in Resident Evil 4 Remake, far from it. It's just, it feels a little more precise and just structured. Whereas here, it's just a little more loose, a little more agile. I'm like, okay, I see what you're going for, but that doesn't really kind of fit with my particular style.
Mm-hmm.
But talk about an insanely faithful remake. They didn't really change a whole lot. There's some things they did leave out. There's some things that they did change a little bit, both narrative wise and character design wise, that honestly I feel like serve this remake better, versus if they just did a one-to-one translation from the original game. I still think the merchant is incredibly charming, and just anytime you see that little purple flame, it's like, Oh, cool. Okay, I can take a little bit of a breather. So let me go over here,
Yeah.
upgrade my guns, and then it's even more fun if you get the gun range that shows up there. Which I don't. Did you mess around with the gun range at all? I spent a
I
lot of time in there.
Dude, I didn't until my second playthrough. I finally, just recently, went into the gun range, and it was
Mhm.
excellent. Like,
Yeah,
I was like,
it's a
"Crud, I
ton of
missed
fun.
out on messing around with this the first time." I don't know why, I just never went down the elevator.
Man, dude,
It's
it's
kinda
just a good
weird that I didn't
distraction.
do that in the
Yeah.
first playthrough, but I just thought that was kinda a distraction sort of thing. But yeah, I love the purple flames. It's got that, I always think of Resident Evil 2, but really it's in Resident Evil 1. It started there. That kind of it's the save room and that kind of
Yeah,
calming
that
music.
calming
Like
music. Yep.
the zombies and Mr. X or whatever can't come in this room.
Yep.
And it's that like that safe space. Same vibe there with the merchant.
Yep.
Real quick, I saw that Resident Evil 4 creator Shinji Mikami was playing the remake here recently
Mhm.
on Twitter. I saw he had booted up a copy, so I wonder what he thinks about the remake.
Yeah, that'd be awesome to hear his thoughts on it. I'd be
Yeah,
curious. Man, okay, I'm going to go follow him on Twitter now. I didn't realize he was playing it.
yeah.
The one thing I do want to mention, because I wasn't even aware of this controversy until I started looking into it. I guess people didn't like the voice actress for Ada Wong.
Dude, yeah, I'm right there with you, Logan. Like I didn't know what it was when it came up. I'm like, what's the deal?
Yeah, I didn't really understand it. I guess some people think it, and of course it's kind of subjective. I thought she was fine. I had a little bit of trouble. I was like, is this the same voice actress that they got for Resident Evil 2 remake? I don't
Well,
think it is, but
well,
I'm not
if I
sure.
understand it correctly, they just they went after her because they didn't like her performance, and I'm like,
Yeah,
guys, this is a Resident Evil game.
I
What
know.
did you expect?
What did you
It's
expect?
full of bad performances. Come on.
Yes. Like that's part of the charm of these games. And I don't know, man. I didn't really understand. I thought she did fine. It is what it is. I didn't have a problem with it. I'm just glad that with this game, you mentioned that it leans more towards action, which will lean into, or which kind of led to Resident Evil 5 being definitely more of an action game than anything else. But the moments in this game where it's just it's kind of like an action movie, but over the top. I'm just like, I love it. I'm here for it.
Same.
Leon didn't need to do this or say this specific thing, but he did anyway, and I love it. It makes the game way more fun.
Mhm.
And I just love. I tweeted this out. I don't think this is really a spoiler, but the whole Master of Unlocking thing is a meme within Resident Evil, and they snuck it into this game in one of the best ways. And I'm like, I love it. I love I love playing it. The action's good. The parts where it's scary, it hits, at least in my opinion.
Mhm.
Like that part in the lab with the lights out and then the things.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
dude.
It's scary for sure. I guess what I had moments playing the game where like you don't realize like, oh, I've been tense for the last like 2 full minutes, and I need to relax my muscles. Okay, here we go, like
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Like I'm not really scared per se. I'm just like, this is crazy tense.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at with Resident Evil 4. Like
Yeah.
like the dudes are on my tail, and I'm like just trying to run
Hmm.
away. And just I got
Yep.
one bullet and reload and get around.
Yep. Yep.
That kind of thing.
Yep. Oh man, it's really good. Yeah. And I gotta say, Ashley this time around is not some dumb NPC. I mean, there's a few moments where she has some dumb moments, but for the
Sure.
most part, like, I mean, I was like, I don't mind escorting you in this game
Yeah,
because you're
did you
a little
utilize the,
self-aware.
like, "Hey, stick with me," or, like, hang
Oh,
back,
all the
the
time, all the
R3
time.
thing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
same,
the
I use
time.
that a lot, I thought that worked out pretty well. It
Yeah.
didn't seem I heard Chris Ray Gun talking on Sacred Symbols about it's an escort mission. I'm like, "Hey, I didn't feel like that at all."
No,
Well,
no.
first of all, you're not even, like, with her or a lot of the game, and
Yeah,
then when you are, it doesn't feel bad at all, so,
yeah.
like, that kind of aspect, it seemed really like yes, Ashley got into some trouble sometimes. I had to get her out, but that's like a
Mhm.
part of the gameplay. Like
Yeah.
that's good stuff. So like yeah, I was fine with everything with that.
Yeah. I'll be interested to kind of hear what some of our listeners think when they get their hands on it and play it and just see what their experience is. Because I thought overall, it was definitely a more enjoyable experience than the original game when I had to deal with Ashley. I
Hmm.
hated dealing with her at
And
times.
you can tell her to hide in lockers now, which I think is
Yep.
a new thing that wasn't in the original. Like I was like,
You
oh, you
you
can
could do that.
could you do that?
You could do that in the original, but I don't think she ever hid in lockers. She hid in like these randomly placed like dumpsters or barrels of hay
Okay.
or something like that. I don't remember there being lockers in the original.
Okay, well, maybe I'm just
But
not remembering that.
regardless, though, there's places for her to hide, and if you just pay attention to the world, your surroundings, you can find those, drop her off there, and then go to town on some ganados. But
Yeah.
yeah, I also felt like I need to move on, but I just feel like the narrative in this game was way just more understandable than what it was in the last game. It just felt like
Yeah.
certain things were explained a little bit more that weren't really explained in the original, and it just all flowed together really well. Especially if you're picking up the different files and stuff along the way, which
Mhm.
hopefully you do if you play Resident Evil games, you know to do this. And yeah, it was awesome. I loved it. I unlocked
Mhm.
the tuxedo little scarf
Yeah,
thing, so I'm gonna
man.
play through the game again and go for just see if I can get an S ranking on my
Mhm.
playthrough because
Yeah.
it's super cool.
It's
Yeah,
itching to be replayed.
absolutely. Yeah, and it's Resident Evil 4. This is a game. I mean, we're all gonna replay this game so many times because we've
Mhm.
all replayed the original so many times. Let me move on to Trails to Azure. End this out
Yeah.
here. I want to save a lot of this for my video that I will undoubtedly, inevitably do in the coming weeks. I am almost 40 hours into the game. I am on chapter 4, and holy crap, this game. Someone commented on one of our YouTube videos and said, "Hey, have you gotten to chapter 4 yet?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Buckle up." And he was not kidding. The transition from chapter 3 to 4 was insane. Just all these things were popping off. If any of you have read Brandon Sanderson and you know about the Sanderlanche where everything just goes nuts in his books, that's the moment that I've reached in this game. And it has been just bonkers, man. There's no breaks anymore. We are going full steam ahead. Things are happening. People are doing things. I can't say anymore, man. It's really, 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 really good. And I said, I'm going to be honest. I don't know if people can start with Trails from zero at this point because there's things happening in here. I'm like, this started in Trails in the Sky, and it's coming up again. I don't, but that's where I'm going to leave it. I wish Falcom would just bring the Trails in the Sky games to modern consoles because then it'd be so easy for me to recommend this series to people. Because now it's like,
Yeah.
if you're on a console, I guess start with zero, but that's not the best starting point. Either way, though, this game is dope. This is. I don't know if it's any better. I don't know if it's better than Trails in the Sky second chapter. Let me finish this game first, and then I'll decide. There's a John Wick moment. Dude, there's just so many. There's so many cool things that happen in this game. I love it. I love it. I said it in the last episode. This game's freaking awesome. I'm going to say it again. This game is freaking awesome. It's so good. So good.
And that's so good to hear. Like,
Just
I feel like we're almost too positive these days. Like all the games we play are just so stinking good. We're just
mhm,
gushing, like we
mhm,
don't have anything
mhm,
really bad to
mhm.
say about a lot
I
of
mean,
these games that we've been
I,
playing.
I mean, I said like the one thing about Resident Evil 4, like the control, but like really, that's so minute. Trails to Azure has like a few things I don't necessarily like, but I can't think of any right
Mhm.
now because I'm like everything else is just overshadowed the stuff that I might not like, and it's
Mhm.
just. Plus, they gave me a car that I can customize, and it's like anytime you do that, that overshadows a lot of problems. Just
Okay.
let me live out
Excellent.
my childhood fantasies of having my own Pimp My Ride show and do all that.
Well,
So
shout out to the person who on YouTube, the commenter, and apologies, I can't remember your name. If you're listening, you like laid out all the like because I was like, I need the background here, like kind of where he
yes,
laid it. He laid it all out. Like these are the
so
games here, and
perfect.
this is this, and it was like
Yep.
a perfect outline. I'm like, wow, that is A, awesome, and
Yeah.
B, a lot.
Yeah. Definitely.
But yeah, so pleased to hear that you're enjoying this so much. So
Yeah, man.
that's great to hear.
Yeah. So probably I'm hoping to either have finished the game or get very stinking close to the end by the time this episode releases
Mhm.
to public feed. So if
Okay.
you're in the Discord server, I have a thread where I'm just kind of not like live tweeting, but giving updates of where I'm at and just doing so. It's a
Very
good game.
cool.
It's a good game.
Very cool.
JRPG fans are eating good this year. We're going to talk a little bit about that, which brings us into the news. Micah, kick us off, man. What do we got going on?
Yeah, we got a smattering of things. These are all it's I would say, it's April. This is traditionally the time where we're in the
Yeah.
pre E3 doldrums,
Mhm.
where oftentimes before E3, there is a couple of 3 weeks leading up to E3 that like
Yeah.
just everything starts leaking and news is really firing off, but we're
Mhm.
not there yet. So it's
Yeah.
really kind of a light week. But we got some interesting ones I want to talk about.
Mhm.
First up,
Mhm.
Nintendo announces Nintendo Live 2023 in Seattle, Washington on September. There's not an actual date, just in September, I guess. I think
Yeah.
more info coming soon.
Yeah.
So at this event, this is akin to, I guess the closest thing I can think of is like a PlayStation experience.
Mhm.
On the website, the official website for the Nintendo Live event, it's got these 4 tabs. It's got games, live stage, photo ops, and tournaments, which are all pretty standard fare. But what I want to focus attention on, Logan, is the live stage portion of this
Mhm.
event, where it says on the official webpage, bring your energy and enjoy live stage performances, thrilling competitions, and more. Now, I know Nintendo. They don't they don't skimp on money.
Yeah.
They dipped out of E3 fast as they could, put out those
Yeah.
Nintendo Directs.
Yeah.
They don't lower their prices on their software, and in fact they'll re-release software and take it off of the old like eShops and stuff and just like
Yeah.
re-release it so you pay all over again.
Looking at
They
you,
like
Donkey
their
Kong Tropical
money
Freeze.
and they
Yeah.
don't like wasting money.
Mhm.
So why does a live event happen now in the year of our Lord 2023? I think you know where I'm going with this, Logan.
I don't actually.
Are you,
I'm on
dude?
the roller
They're
coaster with you. Where
announcing the next hardware at this event.
Oh,
They
the
are
new
totally
Switch.
announcing whatever the new Switch 2, Super Switch,
Uh,
whatever the heck. And friend of the show,
mm,
Marty Estes, said the same thing. He's the one that kind of got me onto this thought. And
mhm,
and it lined up perfectly with kind of what I've said in the past, actually. Um, he's like, I'm calling my shot. I think we're going to see hardware here, and I'm like, yeah, I think you're right, because history shows, when you look at the Switch, it was announced in October of 2016 and released in March of
mm.
2017, and we all think that the next Nintendo
Okay.
hardware is coming out. I think spring or summer next year. That's my
Okay.
personal belief. And so I think this lines up perfectly with Switch hardware. And why would they hold this random event that seems so dumb, kind of? Like there's nothing really going on here. Like no offense to Nintendo fans, but like, okay, so like a few thousand people in Seattle can go have photo ops and play Switch games that are already out? Like, what's the point of this?
The point is, I think it's time. I think the real point is for me and Aaron L. White to finally meet and hang out and play some games together. I think that's really what it's all about. If I'm thinking selfishly and a little egotistically,
No, but, like, what do you think about that theory, Logan? Like, you think that rings true, or you think, nah, this is just
it's
a fan event?
it's pretty enticing. I'm not gonna lie. At the same time, this is Nintendo that we're talking about, so this legit could just be a big celebration of Nintendo event. You get the fans together. We're all playing games. We're all connecting. Getting pictures with people dressed up in Mario outfits and all that jazz. Maybe watching the Super Mario Brothers movie together. I have a feeling it will probably wind up being that, but at the same time,
Well,
that would make a
I'm
lot of
just
sense if they
thinking,
showed off the new system there.
in this post-pandemic era, if you're Nintendo, wouldn't it be
Mhm.
cool? Wouldn't you want to show your hardware, like reveal it
Yeah.
to your fans? It's so that when people are watching the videos on YouTube or whatever, it's like like the Beatles are here, like
Yeah.
everyone goes nuts and
Yeah.
stuff. Like, wouldn't you want that if you're Nintendo?
That's true.
I don't know. I'm just like wondering, like, why else would you just do this random event? Like,
Yeah.
I guess this is either like the worst news story we've ever brought to the show, or like the genesis of like one of the biggest news stories of
Yeah,
2023.
man. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. All I know is now that you put that little thought in my head, I'm kind of like, I need to ask off. I need to make my way out to Seattle and go to this thing and just see what happens.
I think it's worth it if you call yourself a Nintendo fan and you live in the Washington area. I would look for tickets to this event. I think it could go down, like, for real.
Okay.
So just, I mean, it might not, and you have a fun, public event,
Yeah.
celebrating with Nintendo fans. I don't know. I just think this is fishy, bro. And the timing is right. And here's the other part I'll say about this. Nintendo is a little bit like Sony, not as egregious as Sony, but they're a little bit
Mhm.
like, what's coming up next? I don't really know. Like, I know we got
Mm.
Pikmin and, Metroid Prime 4 is out there somewhere, but like,
Yeah.
what's really coming up? Like, where's your new Mario? What's kind of in 2024 for Nintendo, and
Mhm.
we don't have a great roadmap for them, so they're kind of due for a big showcase, which would go along with hardware announcements. I don't know. I just think kind of the stars are aligning in this
Yeah.
September timeframe. I think it works for an announcement.
You
So
got me
that's where
thinking,
I'm at.
man. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting, that's for
I
sure.
am definitely, you are always, when it comes to like state of play, and they're like 20 minutes of third party things, and you bust out the Kratos meme. You're like, keep your expectations in check.
Yeah, and you won't be
I'm
disappointed.
definitely the opposite of that. I like to get hype over stuff,
Mhm.
and like, if there's a 30% chance or like a 10% chance it's going to happen, I'm going to hype it up.
Yeah.
So I think there's more than a 10% chance that we get Switch hardware at this thing. I think it's like 50-50 straight up.
We'll see. We'll see. I will
Yeah.
be the opposite of you, be like, it's just gonna be a fun event, and then
Yeah,
I'll
told you so,
let
and
you
you
get
can
hyped
laugh
up.
at me.
We can do that. We can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, this next story, Logan, man, this dropped today, and boy, this created a stir.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's deserved. I want to get your thoughts.
Yeah.
Redfall, the much anticipated first party Xbox exclusive, uh, coming from actually, it's coming from Arcane out of Bethesda.
Mhm.
Redfall is going to launch on consoles with 30 FPS only modes, meaning there's only going to be a quality mode. So Xbox Series X,
Mhm.
let me pull this up so I get this right on Twitter here. So Xbox Series X will be 4K at 30 FPS, and Series S will be 1440p at 30 FPS with a 60 FPS performance mode patch coming, quote unquote, at a later date. So that's the headline. That's the news.
Mhm.
Redfall on consoles is going to be limited to 30 frames per second at launch.
Mhm.
This drew the ire of the entire gaming community.
Yeah. It's
Um,
I was gonna say, I've got the tweet pulled up, and I'm just looking at just the quote tweets are still coming in, the replies are still coming. It's
okay,
not like
so
the internet's breaking, but I'm just saying like people are definitely talking about it.
right. So here's my question: is
Mhm.
this the vocal internet talking, and it's not going to be really a problem, or is this actually a problem?
Yes and no. I mean, when I first read it, I was like, come on. Like, why? Just why? And they're saying, want to highlight this, and I don't know, maybe I spaced out when you maybe had mentioned this, but a 60 frames per second performance mode will be added at a later date, which is
Right.
fine. But at the same time, I'm like, then just postpone the game a little bit until that's ready and then release it so you have both. Because I mean, when a game gets reviewed, it gets reviewed in the state it's in, not in the state that it's going to be. And so is this really going to hurt things? I think some people are probably going to dip out on this, but I think that number of people that are not going to play this now because of that is a very small number.
Right.
Because when I read it, I was just like, I kind of rolled my eyes and was a little bummed out and was like, this sucks. It's on Game Pass though. I'm still going to give it a shot and just see how it is. But we're in a point now where, and we saw the same thing with Gotham Knights, you can't release a game on current gen hard. We need to stop calling these systems next gen. It's current gen is what it is.
Yeah.
The only reason next gen is still floating around is because we keep holding on to the past, and we need to be like Kylo Ren, where we just let the past die. There's that Star Wars reference for you. It's just I, I don't understand why. I guess I just don't understand. Like maybe they can't postpone the game. Maybe that date's locked in pretty hard, but I don't know how that stuff goes. I'm not gonna make a huge stink about it because I don't. I think at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. I did do some kind of sleuthing around on the internet And Gene Park, I found a tweet from him kind of talking about it. And he said the Redfall decision to release without performance does make me wonder if they have metrics to show most players overall pick quality mode over performance. And then Chris Raygun came in with a reply and said, we covered a study on sacred symbols recently that showed a surprising percentage of players when games default to performance mode, they revert back to quality. Can't remember where it came from, but it blows my mind. And so, again, I think the people that are dipping out of this game is a very small number. I think there's still going to be a lot of people that are going to play this. They're going to enjoy it. They're going to have fun with it. It's not deterring me from playing it. I just know what to expect going in.
Yeah.
And so I was actually thinking about it earlier today. I was like, is this really that big of a deal? And I think it's kind of a bummer. I don't know that it's really a huge deal personally.
This is sort of the Venn diagram thing where like you have the circles overlapping and then you have just a little bit of like this is kind of where all these 4 or 5 things converge, and it's like such a small percentage of people. So this is so part of it is the people that actually care about 60 FPS versus 30, which is like that's the whole that's 50-50 or maybe even less for the people that prefer 60.
Right.
Because there's still just a huge swath of people that can't tell or haven't seen the light, quote unquote,
right.
Of what kind of 60 plus frames really offer once you get used to it. I think I'm in that camp where like I was like, I don't need 60, and now that I've had it consistently and I've gone back to 30, I'm like, oh yeah, I get this now. Now with that said, one of my favorite games of the year last year was A Plague Tale Requiem that ran at 30 frames per second. So, it's not like a deal breaker for me. I think it's a little bit more of an issue than something like A Plague Tale or Gotham Knights because it's a first-person shooter as opposed to a third-person game, which I think people are a little bit more lenient with the 30 FPS kind of stuff. But an FPS, I think you'd, especially a first-party kind of big title FPS, you would think would have 60 FPS at launch. But there again, going back to the Venn diagram thing, it affects people that like, okay, well, they can't play it on PC because a bunch of people are like, okay, well, I'll just play it on PC, no problem. So it affects like the people that like paid a bunch of money for an Xbox Series X and think they deserve, 60 FPS and then want to play on day one, who can't wait for the patch. Like that's the small percentage of people, like the people that have the Series X and definitely want to play on day one. That's who think 60 is like a big deal. That's who it affects. I think that's a really small number of people. I think people made a big stink about it on the internet today, and I'm kind of thinking like,
okay,
well, I don't know if it will really matter with like sales or, I brought it up in our fantasy leagues. Like, is this going to affect reviews? You guys think? Like, what do you think about this? Just kind of tossing it out. Like, I don't know. Maybe not. But boy, the internet sure drew a big stink about it. And I kind of thought it was a little overblown. Yes, I think they should have hit 60. I think that's kind of, I won't call it unacceptable. That's just kind of eyebrow raising. Like, okay, you think they would hit that, but whatever. But the stink that's being made is overblown, I think.
And I kind of agree. I will say that I think Redfall has gone on a bit of a roller coaster when it comes to just like the optics surrounding the game, because it wasn't too long ago that it was found out that the game is going to have an always online requirement for even the single player mode. But now they're kind of working to reverse that because, again, people online got very upset about it, rightfully so, because it doesn't make sense to always be connected online when you're doing a single player game. It's like, what do I need it? What do I need this for? And so I don't know. I don't know how this game is going to pan out.
Well, when you keep taking those blows, like you mentioned, I think IGN had a look at it and it didn't really look great or something like that. I saw something about that. But then you look at the release calendars coming out just a little bit after Star Wars Jedi Survivor and a little bit before Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So like, man, like where's this? Like, there's a lot of games. Like this game could get Horizoned real hard by Zelda. And it's just like it's a real afterthought, like less than a month after release kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Like I said, personally, it's not enough to deter me. It's on Game Pass. I'm gonna give it a shot. It seems like fun. It seems like Left 4 Dead with vampires, and I'm like, all for it. Plus,
we're going to have to depend on your opinion because I don't yet have a Series X or a Series console, I should say. So I'm going to be looking to see what you think about it, Logan.
I know there's some of our listeners that are on Xbox too. Hit me up. Let's do some
Yeah.
co-op together. I'd love to play that co-op and just try the different powers and things like that. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
is
All
what it
right.
is.
Moving on. Logan,
Hi.
Nintendo has this really popular franchise called
Mhm.
Super Mario Brothers. Have you heard of it?
Super Mario Brothers.
Super Mario Twins.
Super Mario. I don't know. Never.
Bro,
Can't.
this movie
Crazy.
has broken the record for the
Yep.
fastest grossing animated movie of
Yep.
all time.
Yep. Nuts.
It broke Frozen 2's record. Now I know inflation, blah, blah. Okay, whatever.
Sure. Who cares?
377 million globally, I think across 5 days or something like that. This movie is officially, it's not a blockbuster, it's a smash hit.
Yep.
Obliterated Sonic the Hedgehog movies.
Yep.
Like hit him with the blue shell, see ya. It's my time now.
Yep.
So
no surprise. No
man,
surprise.
I feel awful. Dorian Taylor wrote in, dear patron, he just said Mario movie, go. And Logan,
I would love to just go and see it, but
we've not seen it yet, man. I feel awful. So okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Logan, you host a podcast about video games. How have you not seen the Super Mario Brothers movie yet?
I'm so glad you asked, because I wanted to bring this up and clarify a little bit, because I can already hear some people, not necessarily screeching, but just they might have stopped and pulled their car off to the side of the road. I'm like, dude, what? How? What? My thing is, where I live, the movie theater that is closest to me sucks. All right. It is like, it's not terrible where there's like roaches everywhere. It's just not a good experience. I don't want to spend that kind of money to sit in there and just have a subpar experience when I've been exposed to the likes of Movie Tavern off West 7th in Fort Worth, Texas. That place spoiled me. And I'm not going to drive an hour and a half to 2 hours to go to an Alamo Draft House to watch a movie. I'm not going to do that and spend that kind of money. And plus, I don't really want to sit in there with like a bunch of kids screaming and stuff. I'm a high school teacher. I deal with kids screaming every day already. I don't want to go do that in my off time. So I'm just going to wait until this movie, and this is probably going to surprise some people. I'm going to wait until this movie hits like the early iTunes kind of release thing, like they're doing with Shazam and a few other movies that are in theaters now, where it's like $25. I'll buy it then and watch it at home, where I can, relax, get my own popcorn with my own seasonings that I don't have to spend like $20 on, and just enjoy it that way, because that's just how I prefer to do it. I've got a decent enough sound system in my house, which is really just the TV, but it still sounds all right. I probably just made some more people cringe, but that's just what I want to do. I don't want to spend that kind of money going to a movie theater that it just is a gamble, right? I went and saw John Wick 3 or John Wick 4 over there. It was all right. The sound was iffy in parts where it literally just dropped in the middle of the movie. And I'm like, well, there goes the momentum. Certain scenes weren't lit because of the screen. And I'm like, this is just a very subpar experience. So
I hate that.
I don't want that. I don't want to experience Super Mario Brothers movie that way.
You don't want to do it that way. Okay. Yeah, I can respect that. For me, my excuse, Dorian, is, well, a couple of things. Been trying to hook up with, my brother and sister-in-law and their kids, so that kind of all the cousins can go see it together. And we've just been busy and haven't been able to sync up. The other reason is that some listeners of the show might remember or might know that I used to work at a movie theater.
Oh, yeah.
And movie theaters in Columbus, Georgia are kind of like, there used to be a company called Carmike Cinemas that was based out of Columbus, Georgia. And we had awesome movie theaters here. And AMC has since taken them over, but they were kind of like a big deal here in Columbus. So we have really good movie theaters, and I still have connections to some of them, and I can like get free tickets still, to this day, like 12 years later.
That's awesome.
Like I've not paid for a movie in like basically 20 years at this point.
Dang.
But it's kind of just bad. It's just kind of bad protocol to like ask for free tickets on opening weekend. You just don't do that. So I'm just kind of waiting for the crowds to die down, and then we're going to go see it for free. Basically, is what's going to happen.
Right on.
But yeah, by next episode, I will have a full report, I bet.
Right on, man.
So yeah,
I will say this: I have listened to Jack Black's "Peaches" song on repeat that song has no business being that good. No business
Well, Jack Black
being
is
that good.
awesome, so you know.
Jack Black is awesome. It's just, look, I will say that early, Reco, if y'all have not heard this Peaches song, just go on Spotify, YouTube, whatever. He released a music video. It's totally bonkers, where he's literally just singing and fawning over Princess Peach. Go listen to it. It is so surprisingly good. I'm baffled. It literally sounds like Bowser singing to Princess Peach, and it blows
awesome.
my mind. It blows my mind.
I've seen the thumbnail on YouTube. I'm refraining. I want to experience it with the movie, so I'll check it out.
I'm about to sing it right now if we don't get to the next news thing, man. I don't want to get us to get DMCA strike or whatever it is.
This next news item, Logan. I'm gonna kind of lump this in with the same sort of weirdness we've been talking about recently. I see you dancing over there. I mean, this is good news. Final Fantasy Pixel remasters coming out to Switch and PlayStation consoles finally on April 19th.
Ayo.
And there again, not on Xbox. So two things. So we sort of talked about this last time about what Square Enix doing. Why are they not releasing games on Xbox? Why are they just dropping games like 2 weeks after announcing it on April 19th? Like, we're recording, like, by the time this goes public, it's about to be April 19th.
Yep.
So, like, they just announced it and, like, okay, here they are.
Just no warning, man. They're like, hey, Logan, you need to hurry up on that Trails to Azure because you're going to want to play through all these games. And I'm like, yeah, you dirty rascals.
It's like, do you realize you just dropped Octopath Traveler 2 on a Square Enix on the same consoles? Like, we're still playing that. We're still playing Live Alive, which it was coming out in April as well. Like, this is the weirdest. You're releasing these games to the same customers. The same customers buying Live Alive is buying Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. They can't play both of these games in April. I don't know what Square Enix is doing. So this is just like another addendum to this, like, ongoing, like, what the heck, Square Enix? What's happening with you right now? Why are you acting so weird? And I think there's sorry, go ahead.
I didn't even make that connection that Live Alive is coming to PlayStation and Switch literally a week after this drops. That is insane.
It's like, not only are you not putting it on Xbox, you're saying no to that revenue stream. But you're saying,
that's weird.
You're almost saying no to, like, one of these games' revenue streams because you're releasing them at the exact same time to the exact same client base on the exact same consoles. I'm sorry, I'm getting kind of worked up. That's just stupid to me.
No, I didn't even think about that. Like, that really. I'm sitting here excited. I was doing my little dance over there. I had, snap your fingers, do your step. I had that playing through my head, getting all excited. And now I'm like, wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense. Because I looked at these. I looked at the bundle. You can't find the bundle on PlayStation Store for some reason. But if you were to get the bundle, I think it would be around $80. Live Alive is $40, I want to say.
Yeah, all these you can buy a la carte. Yeah.
And sure, you can buy the games a la carte and get them for like $12 to $18 and stuff like that, which I think is what a lot of people will wind up doing, is playing like, okay, let me try 4, let me try, piecemeal them out. But and I'm just thinking, like, in the the climate, it's tax season here. Some people may not be getting their tax stuff back. Some people might be and just be balling hard, going crazy in the PlayStation Store, the Switch shop, whatever. Yeah, that is weird to release these weeks apart like that.
I just want to be a fly on the boardroom walls and, like, what are y'all thinking with this release slate?
Yeah.
Like, just take out the Xbox stuff, which is weird on its own. But the fact that, like, let's release these same style of games right on top of each other. Like, who does that?
Well, especially since, like, I'm going to say it right now, this is probably going to cannibalize the Live Alive sales. Pretty easily, just because Final Fantasy is a bigger name,
or Octopath Traveler 2, or any of the other JRPGs that they put out at the tail end of 2022 that people are still trying to get around to. Come on, Square, like, you have a good fan base. They want to buy your games. Just slow down a little bit and, like, pace yourself.
Man, that's weird.
It adds more fuel to the fire that something really weird is happening.
Something's weird. Yeah,
I don't know. And maybe it's just, like I said last episode, just like bad leadership.
Yeah.
And that's it, and new leadership will come in and change things. But it's very weird. I've got my, like, this is one of my most fascinating stories right now is kind of what's happening with Square Enix, because I think something's happening. So definitely got my finger on the pulse of this, but yeah, excited to finally have a chance to get some trophies on some Final Fantasy classic games. I'm thinking I might pick up 4. I've played 6. I never beat 6, but I played a good chunk of it.
Bro.
Might pick up 4, 5, and 6 and play those some, but yeah, definitely a good deal here.
I was gonna jump in and say, as the resident JRPG, I almost said as the Resident Evil fan here. No, as the resident JRPG guy on the podcast here, definitely. If you are jumping into, I just realized my camera moved. That was weird. If you are looking to get into these games for the first time, and you're like, okay, what one should I start with? My recommendations would be to start with Final Fantasy 4 or 6. Either one. 4 was actually my first Final Fantasy game. Actually, Final Fantasy 13 was my first, but my first classic one was 4.
Okay.
Great one to start with. Really, there's a crazy difficulty spike, but there's some quality of life things added in where you can double your XP, skip encounters, do all that stuff. Gonna make that part really easy for you if you find it too difficult. 6 is just one of the top 3 best Final Fantasy games that there is. So 4 is probably my personal favorite that edges out above 6. But 6 is just an amazing game with a great cast of characters. Easily one of the best villains in Final Fantasy history with Kefka. Dude's just an evil scumbag, but he's just really cool. Great theme song. Any of these really, though, that you pick up, you're going to have a good time with. I just can't wait for people to try these out. But yeah.
Cool.
This next one, though.
Rounding out the news this episode, leaked footage suggests Persona 3 and, hold on, what's the other one? Persona 3 and...
Which is Persona 3?
No, there's another game. Hold on. Jet Set Radio. Persona 3 and Jet Set Radio, sorry, are being remade.
Yep.
This has been rumored for a while as far as the Persona stuff, that Sega has really been, wanting to kind of, revitalize all these kind of to get so that they can be, consumed by modern audiences, as Persona is just, it's picking up a lot of steam. You see the trajectory from 4 to 5, and what 6 is going to be enormous.
Yeah.
So you can see them growing this franchise. So yeah, leaked footage. This is coming from this is from IGN, who saw some stuff through Gamatsu, and then there's also this basically a registering for a Japanese website that is basically the same exact people that registered for the Persona 5 Royal website, which turned out to be real. All these clues are like, this thing is happening.
Yeah.
So Logan, Persona 3 remake,
give it to me,
hype
man.
level.
It's getting up there, man. When I first saw this, I put it in the Discord and was like, dude, us JRPG fans are eating so stinking good right now. Like, there's almost too many JRPGs for us to play. I'm just thinking, me personally, I mean, I'm going to be playing through several of them this year. I'm here for it. Especially since I've read some, rumblings and just impressions of people playing Persona 3 on PS4 and Switch and Xbox and all that. And they're like, this is all right, but it's a little dated and it kind of comes through and it's kind of hard to play. And I'm like, if any of these games needs a remake, it's definitely that one. But I'm curious to know kind of what's going on with the first 2 Persona games. But I mean, I'll take a remake for Persona 3.
I'm very curious to the level of which this is going to be remade. Like how hardcore are they going into this remake? When you say remake these days, that has all sorts of different meanings and connotations. Or you could like, was that remastered or this? All sorts of things. So I'm curious to see how this is. It seems like it's going to be a proper remake, though, since they've already kind of re-released this on other platforms. We got ports and stuff. So. It seems like the real deal for Persona fans. Super duper good. So yeah, Persona 3 remake and Jet Set Radio seem to be coming soon. So keep an eye out for that.
I will say, I guess now that I'm looking into it, because they announced. I misread. So a few weeks ago, they announced a Persona 5 The Phantom X, which is a new game that's coming out, but it looks like that's going to be a free to play mobile game. Mobile RPG is what I'm looking up here. It's a mobile spin-off game for iOS, Android. Okay, I totally misread that. So I was about to say, I don't know how they're dividing up their resources to get both of these out, but if one is just a mobile RPG game, then that's a side thing. They could be working in on this. And I was looking because I have Persona 6 drafted for the Fantasy Critic thing. I just swooped that sucker in. There's typically about 8 years in between Persona games. And so we're getting close to that. I could see Persona 3 Remake coming in around that time, or at least maybe next year, to kind of give everybody a bit of a tie. What's that word? Just to hold them over until Persona 6 comes the following year.
Right.
So I could see it.
Yeah.
I could see it. It's right there.
I think it's going to happen. This seems to be like a pretty legitimate rumor. So yeah.
Man. Good stuff. I'm excited. Listeners, let us know what you think. Let's begin rounding out the show with some write-ins over on Patreon. As always, if you are a subscriber over on patreon.com/reformgamers, you can write in to every episode of the Reform Gamers, as well as get early uncut access to the episodes, extra episodes, and things of that nature. Let's start things off with Kokoro Daki, who says, what do y'all think of the rumors about a new handheld PlayStation being developed? Do you think Sony would just go the Steam Deck route and make a handheld that's designed for playing the existing console games on the go? Or do you think they'll also try to get handheld exclusives on there too? Do you think Sony has what it takes to compete with the tight grip Nintendo, Google, and Apple have on the mobile gaming market? I'm going to be honest, because I've heard some of these rumors. I saw someone floating around on Twitter. I'm going to be honest, I feel like that ship has sailed. That's my initial gut reaction, but Michael, what do you think?
Yeah, well, the rumors he's talking about is, again, shout out to Tom Henderson over at Insider Gaming, who we were talking about, I think, last episode. And I was recommending, this is where this report comes from. And he's saying, this is a direct quote from the article, codenamed the Q Lite. The next PlayStation handheld is the next piece of Sony hardware that aims to be yet another piece of hardware that requires the PlayStation 5. Insider Gaming understands that the Q Lite is not a cloud streaming device, but instead uses remote play with the PlayStation 5, a feature that the console has been pushing these past couple of weeks. As for the console's physical features, early prototypes show that the console will look a lot like a PlayStation 5 controller, but with a massive 8-inch LCD touchscreen in the center. The device sports adaptive triggers for haptic feedback and will include what you would come to expect from a handheld, volume button, speakers, blah, 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 all that stuff. And he says, Insider Gaming understands the Q Lite is in QA phase and is scheduled to release before the rumored PlayStation 5 Pro, but after the detachable disk drive PS5, which I think Insider Gaming has laid out all these rumors, and it's basically like Sony has this like wave 2 plan for PlayStation 5, and these three products are it: the diskless PS5, this Q Lite handheld thing, which is like a remote play device, and the PlayStation 5 Pro, to kind of push it into sort of its second half of its lifespan or whatever. And I think what's happening here is they're, according to the article, it's not cloud streaming. They're not trying to go after like the Switch or the Steam Deck. I think they simply want to extract a little bit more money out of their current ecosystem. And that's what this is going to be. This isn't supposed to be like a Vita 2 or anything like that. So I think we need to temper expectations on this rumor about what it's actually going to be. But would you want this? Do you want just a remote play device? This thing needs to be like $100 or like $150 or something, really cheap. Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, the times that, because again, I had a Vita, we talked about it a lot on this show. I loved my Vita early. I'm still kind of upset I got rid of it, but I still have my PlayStation TV connected, so I can play those whenever. When I try to do the remote play both there and even recently on my phone through the PlayStation app, it never really ran well. It was always glitchy. It wasn't very smooth. You could play JRPGs on it and that was fine because you don't really need any kind of response time, but I don't know, man. That just doesn't sound appealing to me at all,
Yeah,
personally.
they have to solve for that. If you're losing anything other than like your screen size and your surround sound setup or whatever,
Yeah,
doing this, then I think they've failed. Like it's got to be like a pretty seamless thing.
yeah.
I did hear Mr. Matty Plays over on the Defining Dupe Xbox podcast talk about some device he's using for remote play. I think it's for PlayStation. It's some Logitech thing. It may be for Xbox. I can't remember, but he was lauding it, basically saying like this thing is designed to do remote play. It's not like your phone with a backbone. It's like this thing is designed for it, and you can tell because the latency is like nothing. And he was
Huh.
really talking about how good it was, and he theorized that this rumored Sony handheld might be like this Logitech thing he's currently using right now that works well in
Okay.
those settings. So maybe companies have sort of found a way finally to solve for like what would be just kind of remote play over your Wi-Fi network and making
Yeah.
that really seamless. If that's the case and the price is right, then maybe there's something
Right.
here. But like that's still
Yeah.
even a stretch for me.
Yeah.
I have very little interest in something like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially just after reading it again, it definitely sounds like it'll be similar to a Steam Deck, but it'll just be all streaming. And I'm not the I'm not the biggest fan of game streaming. So
Yeah,
I hate to be such a Debbie Downer on this episode in a couple areas, but I don't see how this could be good. I would look forward greatly to being proven wrong, and that's coming
sure.
out and being actually pretty amazing, worth the money. It runs great, but remains to be seen.
Yeah.
Remains to be seen. That being said, Kokoraki, thank you for writing in. Moving on to John Hannon. He writes in and says, what is the best game system that every title needs to adopt, and why is it Horizon's ability to let the player turn any task into a trackable quest? Let me do you one better, John Hannon, because I told you this in the Discord. I immediately knew what I wanted every game to have. And it's funny, Micah, that you brought up Dragon Quest XI earlier, because this game does that, and it made me go, I wish every game did this. When you load your save in Dragon Quest XI, it recaps the stuff that was going on in the story, like the major stuff. It's not going to recap the side quest,
Yeah.
but it recaps the major stuff. So you know, like, oh yeah, this and this happened. Okay, I'm caught up with the story. Perfect. I want every game that would benefit from this to
Right.
have that kind of feature, because there's been so many times I have booted up a story based game and I'm like, wait, what was happening again
Mm-hmm.
in the story? There's been so many times I booted up Trails to Azure, opened up the detective book and was like, okay, what did I do recently? Okay, okay, now I'm caught up. Like, I want that, because that's perfect. And I love that. Sorry, now I'm thinking of one more thing and I'll kick it to you here in a second, Micah.
Sure.
One of the things I loved about, I think it was Alone in the Dark, or maybe it was Quantum Break, when you loaded up your save, it'd be like previously on the game's name and then give you a recap of events. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm caught up. This is perfect. You know, that's what I want. But I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if that counts or not, but that's what I'm going to go with. Micah,
I
what
haven't
about you?
played Quantum Break, but that sounds like something that Quantum Break would do since it was an episodic thing. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, um, that's a fantastic answer. I really like that answer a
Yeah.
lot. And the genesis of SSDs and things like that in the home consoles has almost eliminated the load screen to where you don't get those like player
Yeah.
tips and catch up, little, loading screens and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that,
Mm-hmm.
have, leading up to now. So yeah, good call there. I like that one. The one I got a couple of things. I want, and some games do this fine, and some games think they do it but don't do it fine, and some games don't do it at all. But I want games to have an accurate in-game clock.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
This is a huge pet peeve of mine. I don't
Yeah.
want to know how many hours the application has been open,
Yeah.
PlayStation, which is wrong, by the
Mm.
way.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to know, like, okay, I paused it. You're not counting now.
Yeah.
Okay, unpause it. Here we go. Now the clock starts up again. That's the kind of in-game clock I want. This,
Yeah.
like, maybe certain games, it would make sense where the clock keeps running if you pause it, sure, whatever. But I just want the clock to like matter. I want to know that like I've been playing this 16 hours and 55 minutes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I like to know that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think a lot of games have really poor in-game clocks that you could walk away and forget that you paused or whatever, and then it's
Yep.
showing you played 25 hours when you only played 15 or something, just
Yep.
stuff like that. I don't like it. So
Yep.
that's my one. And then the second one, real quick, I won't linger much on. This is if you know me, and this is, you would think like certain genres it would be more conducive to this. No, I want every game. I want Hollow Knight. I want Forza Horizon. I want, your Uncharted. I want like Tetris. Every game needs a photo mode. Yes.
Oh, dude.
Every single game.
Yes.
I don't care what genre you are. Games are art, and the pixels and the polygons and the renders that you put on screen, an artist put this together, and sometimes it looks darn cool.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's moving out, like the game moving out, or whatever, like snap that photo, get in photo mode. Let's have some fun with it. I think it's just like instant marketing. Like I think Sony was really smart to get out in front with this, to put a photo taking button on their controller and then do this hashtag PS4 share back when the PS4 came out, and like push photo modes in their first party games. And basically it lets every player advertise your cool game.
Yep.
What a thought,
Dude, taking me back. I remember doing that in Infamous Second Son a lot. Trying to find the one, like, when what's his name, Delson, when he goes flying up into the sky to do a special attack and it comes crashing back down. I would always try to time it just right. Like, hey, here he goes. Boom. Okay, got him right where he's grinning a little bit. He's about to go back down because he knows he's about to lay the smack down on these people.
Yeah.
And then sharing that, like, just trying to get those. Yeah, dude. Photo mode is kind of an unsung hero. We like to bring it up every now and then on this podcast. And I agree with you, man. I think more games definitely need to have that in there. I can't remember what I was playing recently where I'm like, why is this? Oh, no, I was playing Trails to Azure. When you're customizing the car, you can hide the menu and move the camera around to look at the car. I'm like, see, they knew.
Yeah.
They knew.
Even just something small, like you don't need a photo mode or like, all right, moving the camera and all that stuff. Like, just like make it so where I can hold a button and all the UI goes away.
Yeah.
And then you can snap your photo. What, like during the gameplay or whatever, or just something like that. I don't know. Like more stuff where you can just like show off cool moments in the games you're playing, because all these games have a lot of cool moments that are worth sharing, I think. So yeah.
Absolutely. That's a good one. As always, dear listeners, you let us know what you think every game needs to have. John, thank you for writing in. Let's switch over to Richard Marroquin. Words are hard. Richard Marroquin, who has come back to the Sony Pony fold. He says, I am a Sony Pony once again. I was finally able to buy a PS5 a few weeks back, and games that I refused to get on PS4, such as Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok, I am now able to play, and I am glad I waited because these games are amazing. There is no way I can believe these games run as smoothly on PS4. Well, they definitely don't. Even before I got my PS5, I had already been thinking for the past 1.5 to 2 years that it had been time to stop developing big titles for previous generations. I still see that big titles are still being developed for the previous generation. Let these big developers concentrate on the current generations. What say y'all? And I wanted to tie this in with Alex Castellanos' write-in, who says, am I crazy for hoping that I will be able to have a decent experience playing Hogwarts Legacy on May 5th on my PS4 Slim? I know it seems unlikely, but I need some reassurance. What do you two think? Is there any hope? Man, I'm going to tell you, as someone who played Hogwarts Legacy on PS5, there were moments where I was just chugging along at Hogwarts, having a merry old time, like, Avada Kedavra. No, I wasn't doing that to people. I didn't learn that spell. But I was lifting things, grabbing books out of the air, like high five on my teammates or my classmates, and then going to a door and then stop. Little spinning wheel comes up, loading. And I'm like, dude, this is happening enough. I don't know what it's going to be like on a PS4. Hopefully, again, I'm hoping they optimize this thing. They do fancy little crazy magical things in that to make it run smooth on the PS4. But man, I feel like that stuff's showing its age, man. These games are getting more and more demanding resource wise. And I honestly agree with Richard. It's time to let these developers just focus on the current. Again, we gotta stop calling PS5 and Xbox Series
Yeah.
systems next gen. It's current gen. The
We're
only reason
3
we keep
years
calling
into
it
the
next.
gen.
Yes,
Yeah.
dude. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, Richard and Alex, both. Both of your write-ins drove me nuts today because I was thinking about that, not because of anything you did, but because I was thinking about this. I'm like, gosh, this is nuts. We're this far into the cycle, and we're still calling them next gen. It's current gen. The only reason it's next gen because we can't let the past die already. Like, come on. God,
Yeah.
wait, dude. Oh my gosh. See, you were getting hyped up earlier, and now I'm getting amped up. This is why I didn't like God of War Ragnarok as much. It was a PS4 game. It
Yeah.
drove me nuts. All the freaking, sorry, I just smacked my mic. All the freaking things where you go into the door and you're going into the little fast travel thing. I'm like, dude, this is not how it's supposed to play on a PS5 at
Mhm.
all. And it just drives me nuts. Okay, I'm going to calm down.
Yeah,
Because, like,
let me speak to Alex's question first, specifically about Hogwarts Legacy. Two observations. Well, I guess this is an observation. I I have no idea, Alex. But the thing that I will say is that they delayed it. They delayed the PS4, the old gen versions, which
yeah.
is a step in the right direction. They didn't just poop it out and not care like some developers do. So there's at least some modicum of like they care about what this version is like, which is a good sign. So I think out of any game in this situation, you have reason to have high hopes for the last gen version of Hogwarts Legacy compared to some games.
Yeah.
Will it deliver? I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to look, just resolution is going to be highly impacted so it can hit the solid 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be, I think it will probably perform. I think it'll just look a lot different. And,
Yeah.
how badly we'll see. I think I have a feeling it will be fine. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think there will be any controversy about it. I think it will be, yep, that's a PS4 game and it runs fine and it'll be fine. That's kind of what I think. Now, to Richard's question and point. Yes. I'm with you, Logan. I'm with you, Richard.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been on this train since 2020 and 2021. Like I've been like, yes, well, let's get rid of it. When they said God of War had a PS4 version, I about lost it. I was like, no, please, no.
Yeah.
Horizon, all those games, like, no, can we
Horizon was
please
another
move
one. Yeah.
on?
Yeah.
Look what Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart and Returnal did. Like,
Mm.
those are great games that use the hardware. And
Yep.
yeah, anyway, not going to go down too much of a rabbit trail. The reason it's doing this, though, the reason we're here now is that games take forever to make. And you just got this has been planned for forever. So you got to produce the product. This is where the
Yeah.
install base is. You got to, like, you've been planning this for forever. You got to do it. You got to deliver. And just games don't take 2 or 3 years to make anymore. They take 4, 5, 6, 7 years to make,
Yeah.
especially Hogwarts Legacy. The kind of the deal it was with and kind of development hell there for a little while. So that's why it's happening. Can we get around that? Maybe. I think we're turning the corner, though, Richard. I think we are. I think the next kind of wave of games that get announced, they're going to be like Series X exclusive and PS5 exclusive and those types of things.
Yeah. Alex, I will say this too as a final addendum to kind of be some sort of encouragement. At least you're playing it on a PS4 Slim and not the Nintendo Switch. I don't know how that game's going to run on the Switch.
We'll
at
see.
all. It'll be interesting to see. I look forward to Digital Foundry's videos on
I was just about to say the same exact thing. Looking forward to John Letterman break it down.
Yep. It'll be good. But anyway, both y'all, thank you for writing in. Rounding out the show is Sojourner, who writes in and says, is there a game series that you think would benefit from switching to first person from third person or the other way around? Like how Resident Evil 7 and 8 changed it up to first person from the iconic set camera view / third person view. Also, while on this topic, if a game gives you the option to switch between the two, do you play more in first or third person?
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. Sojourner, I was thinking about yours all day. Micah, do you have any games? I've got one I can think of that kind of did this already,
Well,
but not
to answer
very well.
his last question about like if they give you an option, do you play in first or third? I was trying to think of games that did that, and what came to mind were like the Bethesda Game Studios games, like Elder Scrolls and Fallout. I play whatever the default is. Like for Fallout, like I'm going to play first person. I'm not going to swap to the third person view and do that.
Yeah.
So kind of whatever is like the just accepted what they showed off in kind of pre-release trailers and stuff. I guess that's
Mm-hmm.
probably what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as what franchises could benefit from changing it around, so I wrote more of like examples of ones that have kind of done this versus what I think would be a good one, because I didn't have a lot of good thoughts. The only one that I thought of that I was thinking like this actually could happen, this could be realistic, is if Sony comes out and has like a third person Resistance game. I could see that happening.
Okay.
I could, you know, Resistance was a first person shooter franchise on the PlayStation 3, Resistance Fall of Man, Resistance 2, and Resistance 3.
Mm-hmm.
And they've since left that franchise behind. There's some rumors that it's going to get, it's going to come back somehow. Mm-hmm. And I could see that being a third person game now that Sony loves their third person perspective games. So that's what I wrote down. But a couple of other examples that have done this in the past. You see Halo do this sometimes. Even like in the midst of a classic Halo franchise, you'll get into third person mode depending on if you're like holding certain weapons and stuff like that. And I wrote down Metroid as well. A game that has gone to the first person perspective and, you know, done side scrollers. It's done other M. It's done all sorts of things. So those are some franchises that I thought have kind of done it in neat ways. Last thing I'll mention, I just because I learned this like the other day, I didn't know it. The sequel to Hyperlight. I'm dropping on the name right now.
Hyperlight. Solar Ash?
No. The sequel is Hyperlight Breaker. What was the first game?
Hyperlight Drifter?
Hyperlight Drifter. Mm-hmm. So Hyperlight Drifter was this isometric 2D action game, but apparently Hyperlight Breaker is like a third-person action game or something like that. I just saw some footage of it. I'm like, wait, what?
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Like, this is a weird kind of example of you know, a franchise doing something different than what they had. Not an established franchise, but I just saw that and I'm like, wait, what? This is third-person action? So yeah, kind of an odd beat to land on there. But any other thoughts there, Logan? Any other games you thought of?
It's funny that you mentioned Metroid, because that was the one game that I'm like, wait a minute, they tried to do this in other M, didn't really succeed at it in a way that felt very good, but I would be okay with it. You know, I even said it in the video I did for it. I was like, I would love to have a third person Metroid where it follows close behind you, like over the shoulder stuff. And you played through the game kind of like that, where a lot of people comment like, oh, congratulations, you created Dead Space. I'm like, yes, but no, I don't want it to be a survival horror game per se.
Right.
I just want it to be a Metroid game that's over the shoulder. I think that would be a really cool twist to it. And I think, you know, as much crap as other M gets, I can see how cool a third person Metroid game would be.
You can see why they tried it.
Yeah, I can see it. It's not a bad idea. I just don't think it was executed very well.
Right.
But I can see kind of what they were going for, and I can appreciate it and think it's worth trying again. If they want to do that. I will say this though, I'm glad you brought up like Skyrim, Fallout, and all that stuff, because it just dawned on me. I'm like, hey, yes, that's a perfect example. I would do both in games like that. I think even Outer Worlds had this too. Like, I would swap. So if I was traversing the world, I'd be third person, so I could zoom out, kind of see everything, get a lay of the land, look at everything, and just take in my surroundings. Then when I'm exploring interiors or getting into combat, it's first person 100%. I would swap between those two depending on kind of what I was doing. Personally though, it kind of depends on the kind of game that I'm playing. I typically like first person shooters because it's a little more accurate. Because Gears of War is just kind of like, I love Gears of War, but it's still kind of clunky a little bit.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Microsoft Activision deal goes through, and in 2026 we get a dead serious Call of Duty. Like, this is a big Call of Duty game, third person. What do you think? It's just called Call of Duty, we'll say, and it's third person, and it's like very story driven, like a Sony game. Like, what do you think about that? Would that land? Would that work? Call of Duty going third person?
I'm gonna be honest. I think you'd have a lot of people really ticked off. Then again,
you think so?
I mean, I don't know. People were doing third person in Star Wars Battlefront, and people loved it. So I don't know. I feel like if you switch it to third person, that's gonna be super weird. That's gonna be really weird for
I found
people.
this question to be harder than first blush. Like I was like, okay, good question. I'm like, wow, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know, man. My gut reaction is like I feel like people are really gonna hate it because we're so used to the first person formula, how it aims, how you move around, which is drastically different than how it is in third person. I don't think that would fly at all. At all.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as an option, different story. But as the primary mode of viewing the game, oof, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
man. You could do some
Yeah.
cool stuff with the camera, though. Do the
Yeah.
just one shot thing like we've seen in a couple games here lately with God of War Ragnarok and Dead Space. That would be, I mean, those games are very cinematic. You could do some pretty cool things with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
First person Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, oh gross. Gross. I say gross because it's going to make me hurl going
It's
that
just like a
fast.
roller coaster, basically gonna make you throw up, kind of.
Nah, dude, I'm
Doing
good.
loops and stuff.
I'm good. I'm getting to the point where I'm too old for that sort of thing. But I'm not too old for the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog game that they
No.
released as an April Fool's joke. That was awesome, dude. Hats off to Sega for
April
just
Fool's
embracing it.
joke, but also not. Like they're
Also
totally
not,
keeping it out there and making money off
yeah,
of it.
dude. Grace, no, it's a free game that you can download.
Oh, that's right. It is free.
Yeah, because it
You're
was an April
right.
Fool's joke. So
You're right.
hats
You're
off to
right.
Sega for just embracing just the meme
Yeah.
culture stuff around Sonic. It's
Yeah. I was
really
thinking it was like a couple of bucks, but you're right. It is free.
no. They're not like Second Dinner where they charge you for their April Fool's joke. Stupid Marvel Snap. Anyway, Sojourner, thank you for writing in. That brings our show to a close. But before we let you go, a couple different things we got to get to. One of them, first and foremost, is I just didn't schedule things right when I was looking at the notes and all that stuff. Supposed to do patron thank you episode last episode, but we're gonna move it to this episode because my brain's dumb sometimes. Words are hard. It is what it is. So I want to shout out the folks over on patreon.com/reformgamers that continue supporting us over there, that allow us to continue to do what we do here at TRG. And those people are Aaron L. White, Alan Z, Alex Castellanos, Boulder, Calvary Zender, Chris Freeman, Christopher Commander, David Matthews, Derek Smith, Dorian Taylor, Jake Walker, Jimmy Changa, Joanne Monroe, welcome back, John Hannon, Jonathan Harrison, Josh Broccolo, Joshua the Super Llama, Johnson Kokorodaki, Luke Strain, Matt Edwards.
Matthew White Chocolate McDougal, Matthew Millsap, Melvin Benson V, Micah Hendrick, Michael Toller, Mr. Butts, Nate McKeever, Richard Marroquin, Ryan 1701E, Sam White, Savon Pena, Struffosaurus, Sojourner, Third Strongest Mole, Tim Syriac, Vincent Yu, Wesley Ray, Xavier Medina, Yuki Alley, and Zachary Nelson. Thanks, patrons.
Yes, y'all, thank you for your continued support over there. And as always, just another shameless plug. If you want to support what we're doing here at TRG, you go over to patreon.com and learn how to do that. But if you can't support us financially, we totally understand. You can do so a variety of other ways, leaving reviews and liking the videos on YouTube, subscribing to the YouTube channel, sharing those videos, and more. But we also got to give some recos. Micah, dude, what should our dear listeners check out, man? What you got they need to go look at?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the same vein of recommending kind of like sources, news outlets that like these are things that like I discovered this guy right here when I was doing Dear Listeners Newsroom and like sweeping new stuff every week. This guy kept kind of rising. I kept seeing his name over and over again, and this man's name is Piers Harding Rolls. So it's Piers and then Harding Rolls, ROLLS. He's at Piers HR on Twitter. He works for a company called Ampere Analysis, which is like, it's kind of like the NPD group. You know, they do like market leading data research and analytical kind of stuff for firms and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy puts out these nuggets, or like he'll retweet, you know, a story or whatever. And he just has these nuggets that are like so stinking good and very like objective. You know, like this is just the
Mm-hmm.
data. Like I don't have a dog in this fight. Like here's just what I'm seeing here.
Yeah.
It's really good stuff for like if you're into that kind of nerdy, like the numbers and the facts and figures. And like recently he was showing like here's over a month from like November last year to February this year, here's like the top like engagement across like consoles, all the other over the top publishers, and it was really interesting data.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, this guy is kind of like low key putting out really good stuff if you're into that NPD kind of salesy and like metrics sort of stuff,
Okay.
like Benji sales and things like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, anyway, Piers Harding Rolls is the fellow's name. He's a really good follow on Twitter. So yeah, go check him out.
Right on. I will definitely go check him out as well. Some of the things that I'm going to recommend. NF dropped a new album called Hope. It is easily the best album he has done to date, in my opinion, at least. It's just nice having an album where it's way more like his previous albums have been really good and just artistically they're really good, but they're definitely a little bit more dark in the subject matter. Not like it's like creepy or evil or anything like that. It's just, heavy subjects. This one still goes there, but like the title, is way more hopeful than his other albums. It is really good. I was listening to just a few of the songs on there. I'm like, dude, just to see how far you've come from the mansion to this, dude, it is a transformation, and it's really good. It's really, really good. All the songs on there, just a good time to listen to. I will say this though, if you decide to listen to the song called Mama, have a box of tears ready. It's very sad. It'll hit you hard. I was getting breakfast for me and my wife at the start of our Easter.
Hold on, Logan. Sorry, I gotta stop you there.
Yeah.
Did you just say get a box of tears ready?
I meant a box of tissues, but you might as well, because you're gonna have a box of tears by the time you're done. Because it's sad.
I couldn't let that one slide. I'm sorry.
It's just get you a box of tissues that will become a box of tears after you listen to that song. It's
Maybe
yeah.
you did say box of tissues, and I'm just hearing things. But anyway, sorry.
Whatever. You're gonna have both by the time you finish that song. A box of tissues becomes a box of tears. Yeah, I went to get my wife breakfast when we were, it was the start of our Easter break, having a couple days off, nice 4-day weekend, and I made the mistake of listening to that song on the way home, and I just sat in the driveway for a few minutes, like I got to collect myself because this was a ride. This was a ride.
I know the feels.
It was boy, very beautiful song, but it was a ride. Speaking of things that were beautiful rides, I for some reason had a Dragon Ball Z kick here recently, and I'm like, I want to watch Dragon Ball Z. I want to watch a movie. Never seen Dragon Ball Resurrection F. It's got Frieza, my favorite villain from Dragon Ball Z. So let me watch it. Holy guacamole, that was a ride and a half. Man, nice. The final 30 minutes of that movie, just perfect. Loved it. It was awesome. Good stuff. Y'all haven't seen Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F. It is a good time. Man, I might watch it again, actually. There's a scene at the end with Vegeta that's just, it goes hard. It goes hard. Anyway, dear listeners, those are our recos. With that being said, I've already talked about the support stuff enough. You already know about it. But however, if you do want to interact with us, you can do so by connecting with us on YouTube. You can visit our website. You can follow us on Twitter. You can join our Discord server. All that jazz to connect with us in all the places that we exist. But yeah, with that being said, thank you for listening to this beefy episode of the Reformed Gamers. And until next time, be a dear. Keep it locked here. We'll see you in the next episode.